So ever since I came to Wits and I studied music, my main instrument was voice. So I'm classically trained. But then I went on to start writing my own songs. So I do like Afro contemporary stuff as well on the side in addition to this. So yeah, but it's been like using my voice with the marimba band as well has been amazing, because I mean I get to use it in a different way from what I did, like, you know, at school and stuff like that, and it's different from the way that I use it when I'm doing my Afro contemporary stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Now Samora, I would understand that, you know, you have the grasp of the whole group's direction, where they're going to, where they're coming from. But as for Africans, you know, what does the group teach Africans?
Well, perhaps we can start at the point of educating the children as to what it is that we do and the purpose for the group. We have initiated certain projects related to teaching children indigenous instruments. What you find, the unfortunate circumstances that Africans find themselves in socioeconomically, you find that there isn't a lot of exposure to formal or even valuable informal educational facilities where you can really educate the child, culturally specifically. So what we do is we initiate programs where we can go into a community and develop, construct indigenous instruments from scrap metals, from scrap garbage, waste, anything of that nature. And even from, you know, wood, and, you know, we have a carpentry department as well within our group.
Wow.
Yes, and we're developing that slowly and surely, and we have an instrument constructor in the group as well, who's part of the band and is a musician as well. And we teach children how to make indigenous music. We teach them how indigenous music is part of the very social climate that they come from. Their background is a very important element in the construction of musical ideas and in the themes that are portrayed within the music itself.
You know, I like the idea that you're actually focusing this on, you know, the grassroots level, our children in Africa. But, you know, as a young person as well, growing up, the only African or the African instrument that I used to know was just the marimba that you just mentioned. You know, that's what I used to call it the thumb instrument. And for me, that was it. And then I grew up to know the guitars, the drums and things like that, the Western ones.
Yes.
But, you know, as instrumentalists, all of you, what other instruments do you play? I mean, just name them for me, Alfred.
Okay. The primary instrument that we actually started with was the marimba. And we've got other percussive instruments, like we've got the dondo, which is from Ghana. We've got the djembes. We've got the maracas. We've got the shakers. We've got the flute, atentebeng, also from Ghana as well. Anything musical we've got.
So now, do you all play the music, I mean the instruments? I mean, Iggy, you're a lady and we're usually very finicky about our fingers and what we do with them. The list that we all play is maybe the guitar, you know, the light things. What do you play within the group?
I often complain that, you know, no man will want to marry me because my hands have gotten so rough, you know, from playing the djembe. I just love like banging stuff. So I enjoy playing the marimbas, but my most like wow moments for me is when I'm on the I'm not perfect, like, you know, but I just enjoy those moments. And for me, I just love experimenting with everything that we've got. And so even everybody in the band, we swap around instruments. Like for this song, one would be on the bass, another person would be on the piccolo, marimba, you know, things like that. We swap around, but each and every one of us, we've got our own strong points. So I'm strong on vocals, like he's strong on, you know, percussion, and he's strong on the small marimba and things like that. So yeah, but we basically move around. And
now, how does the group differ from, you know, any other instrumental group in Africa, Samora?
Okay, primarily the first thing that we differ on is the fact that we are specifically gearing ourselves towards playing indigenous instruments and then stretching the use, stretching the range, stretching the tonality of indigenous instruments. And from that point, we are developing expertise in the playing and the fusing of all ranges of indigenous instruments throughout the continent, and even the odd indigenous instrument from another country internationally. So that's the first thing that makes us very different. Secondly, then, we're trying to fuse the contemporary instruments that are played in African traditional music or in African contemporary music, and even Western classical music, and even other cultures, cultural instruments and contemporary instruments as well. So that makes a vast difference in terms of the kind of sound we make. And as Alfred was saying earlier on, we primarily started on using the marimba as the first base from which we started. Now, with the marimba itself, when you hear us using the marimba instrument, you will not have heard the kinds of tones, the kinds of harmonies, the kinds of melodic structures that are played with our group on any other group's marimbas. You understand what I'm saying? So we've stretched even that instrument beyond its uses and beyond its genre type, so to speak.
Wow, wow. Now, this is a very, this is a rhetorical question, but it's also very controversial. Where do you think the marimba instrument really originates from in Africa?
Okay, I've done a little bit of history, research on that, mainly because of the band.
Yes.
So, and I love, the whole history. I'm currently doing my research on Tsonga music, and I'm going back into the whole African music history, basically. And the marimba that we use right now, it's actually a modern version. Okay. Many countries in Africa have used the marimba, but it has different names. Like, in the Jopi call it Dimbila. You have people in Zimbabwe calling it a different name, and in Ghana it's called something else. So, and they came in different forms and shapes and sizes. So, but what happened is that in the 1930s or 40s or something like that, there were some guys who were doing some work in Zimbabwe. Yes. And that's how they came with the Western system. And then when they saw this instrument that the neighboring countries like Mozambique were playing, they actually modernized it and started teaching people according to the Western system. And then that's how we got the marimbas that we are using today. And then it was labeled a Zimbabwean instrument because it was chosen to be the national instrument because it had no affiliation with any of the tribes in Zimbabwe. Yes. So people were not going to say, no, it is the Shona instrument or the Ndebele instrument. It was totally foreign to Zimbabwe, which is why the motivation was that it had no attachment to any Zimbabwean tribes or ethnic groups or whatsoever. So which is why most people refer to it as a Zimbabwean instrument. But actually there are a lot of tribes from Africa who played
such a similar instrument.
Yes.
Now, Samora, just coming to you, where would one find Sankofa performing?
Okay, recently Sankofa performed at the House of Nsako. We've developed a very nice relationship with them. That's in Brixton, by the way. Their owner has been very impressed with what we've been doing, and it goes hand in hand with the kind of program that they want to initiate at the House of Nsako, which is a vast program in any event. We'll be performing again, in fact, on the 1st of August, and then we'll be doing a monthly stint at that venue, starting from this coming month, and then, as the months follow thereafter. There may also be some Heritage Day activities where we'll be involved. That's to be confirmed. People can check our Facebook fan page, Sankofa Marimba Band, on Facebook for those kinds of details as to when and where we'll perform. On the 26th of September, there's a major event called Rise Africa, a launch that is going to be happening in Monte Cassino. We will be one of the headlining bands at that particular event as well.
And what should one expect? We've heard of Sankofa, we have an idea of what it is that you do, but what is it that you have in store for the people that are going to be coming?
One thing, I'd like to refer to testimonies from certain members of the audiences who've participated in our shows. Yes. They talk about how engulfing the energy specifically of Sankofa is. They speak about how different the quality of sound and the quality of musicianship is with the Sankofa band. They appreciate the fact that it's an acoustic sound, not necessarily or not predominantly an electronic sound.
Yes.
So they appreciate that fact. And the fact that they can see the evolution of African cultural music, from a point of not necessarily stagnation, but a point of misrepresentation. Now we're coming into the fore as young people with a very dynamic energy and a sense of experimentation, and we're developing the sound even further.